Hello and welcome to match 3 of the Dominion League. We have a kingdom here which noticeably has no plus buy. It has everything else. It has actions, it has draw, and there's gain, but there's no plus buy. So the gain is going to be particularly important with no plus buy in the mix. So here we both open with a raise. Now the 4 cost buy here is interesting. You could consider a caravan or an advisor at this point. I didn't really want the advisor because it might skip past my raise. Caravan is probably the most reasonable for in this position. Instead, I opt on Personman. They also opt for a silver. The reason for the silver is that I want to hit Jester as soon as possible, and combined with the raise, I think that's a reasonable open to get to 5 for the Jester. So we both go raise and silver. Again, Caravan is reasonable. A second raise for me and a second raise for Personman. And I get my first Jester. So I'm happy about that. Everything went according to plan so far. Personman also gets a Jester. And here I have 5 and I opt not for a second Jester but for a Minstrel. Perhaps the second Jester is better here. As I mentioned, it is the only, not the only source of gain, right? But Wayfarer also gains. But Jester will gain things other than silver, rather, which is important. And it can also help junk your opponent's deck, which is part of the reason why I went for 2 raises as opposed to just the 1. Even without Jester, I would have probably gone for 2 raises. Anyway, so what is going to happen here is an unfortunate turn for me. Personman is able to play both their raises, which is fine, but the unfortunate part is that they play their Jester and hit my Jester, so they gain another gainer, plus I don't get to see my gainer for this turn. That second part is okay, I can deal with that, but they are able to get a second Jester and a Minstrel alongside it. I went for my Minstrel to try to see my one Jester as often as possible, and I see it here, and I will pick up an Advisor now for the draw. So Personman makes an interesting play there. On turn 6, you see they picked up an Outpost. I thought it was too early for the Outpost, really. Maybe they can buy rides or raises on the Outpost turn, which is okay, which is fine, but I don't know if it's better than another Minstrel or whatever. So Jester, there's a cute trick there with Jester. I was able to copy a copper, give it to person 1, which sent down the cost of the Wayfarer by 6. So it was 0 cost, and I happily pick one up there. I do need some amount of draw in the deck, and Wayfarer is great for that. Plus, I can trash all my coppers without having to ever worry about not having money, because I can always regain silver from the Wayfarer. I have the one Minstrel and one Jester and one Wayfarer, so the actions do balance itself out at this point in the deck, if that ever becomes an issue. So Personman has a bit of a think here. They go for their Minstrel, and they are a little bit ahead in the race. This is unfortunate too. Their Jester hits an estate, which gives me a curse. I mean, if it had hit a copper, I would just have a copper, right? Trash 1, buy a ride here. That seems to be the most reasonable thing to do with all these Jesters flying about. 2 against 1. I need to make sure the deck is thin. So ride is as good as anything to buy on 2 here. There's also toil on the kingdom. I haven't talked about that, but it is helpful for terminal collision, toil. Alright, so Personman's Jester, well, one of them comes out. They hit a horse. They don't get a copy of it. And I'm okay to not play the horse this shuffle. It'll be there later, you know, just bank the horse. And here comes an outpost of a toil. So let's see what happens on the outpost turn for them. Like I said, I think it was too early, but they still end up getting a minstrel off that outpost turn. So that seems to be very good for them to pick up a minstrel there. Seems like a worthwhile outpost. in that position. Alright, so I do get around to my single jester and I copy a minstrel for myself. Again, this will alter the price of the wayfarers. Notice that it's down to 4 now. But I think it's time for me to pick up an outpost. My deck is a little bit thinner than a previous shuffle. Plus, I have draw in the Wayfarer as well. So Jester gives me a copper, double trash again for Personman. I think they are ahead on the trash, and I wasn't tracking that very carefully, but I've seen them play 2 raises on a couple turns now, so I assume so. Anyways, they toil for their Wayfarer, I assume, just to get to the end of the shuffle more quickly, and they'll pass it back. Raise trash 1, buy a ride. Outpost here is not great for me, but I do get to trash a couple cards and put a couple horses in the deck. At this point, I don't want the silver yet. I think it's more junk than useful, so I pass the silver across to my opponent. It's not gonna hurt me because I have silver again on demand with the Wayfarer, so have the silver. And there's no plus buy, right? You can't really capitalize on 20 coin in this game. 8 consistently is all you need. Then you could buy everything on the board. Maybe you want an extra 2 for a toil, maybe. But outside of that, no, you don't really need that much money. Alright, so I am losing quite a few. I say losing, I mean my opponent is gaining quite a few cards off of their double jester. Here they copy an advisor this time. So I am starting to think about double jester. Now they copy a minstrel. That is tremendous value from two jesters. Plus they have their buy. It was just a ride, but a horse is good. A horse is fine here. And they get the extra turn from the outpost, which doesn't amount to much, fortunately for me. But I do need to start catching up here, and I think I will go ahead and pick up a second chest at this point. So here I am able to see most of my deck here, or all the relevant cards anyway, and I will be able to set aside this whole, I say set aside, I mean it'll be used in a different shuffle, gain a Wayfarer from Personman, and I will buy my second Jester here. I think it's still worth it. Here, this is unfortunate. I have to trash both my raises in order to have a decent turn here. I was lacking a Minstrel, and I had to trash both my raises to find a Minstrel to continue my turn. I didn't have to do that, but I felt behind, and I felt like I needed to make all my outpost turns count from this point on. There are still a couple coppers in the deck, as you see here, that I would like to trash. I'm not really sure how I'm getting a raise back. It'll have to be off of a Jester gain in this situation. I don't think I have time to use my buy on a raise. I would much rather use it on a Minstrel or a Wayfarer, one of those two cards. I do copy a Minstrel from Personman here, which is good for me. I do think about a second Minstrel here, because the Minstrel pile could go down quite quickly with those Jesters in play. I opt for a Wayfarer instead. My draw wasn't quite up to par on that last shuffle. I know it was the outpost turn, but I would like my outpost turns to be as good as my regular turn, so that's why I turned to the Wayfarers. I thought, you know, it has to be kind of lucky for them to empty all the minstrels. They do copy one of this Jester here, put an outpost into play, and they are going to have a decent turn with their outpost here. And they do manage to find their second Jester. You'll see soon. And the second Jester will, you know, copy a minstrel, obviously, and they will buy the last minstrel. So maybe I should have bought the minstrel there. I took a chance, you know. I didn't think they could get all 3 over the course of 2 turns, but it didn't work out. That is a big deal for me, because the minstrels help improve the consistency of the deck. And my deck has coppers still in it. I have some terminals that I would like to play. Losing the split is a big deal there for me. Anyway, so Personman starts on the province on that outpost turn there, which effectively forces me to think about greening at this point. No extra buy, right? So I cannot fall too far behind on that front. And what I need to do here is manage my actions very well. Manage my actions very well because I have less minstrels. I need to make sure that I'm able to string together the minstrels with the wayfarers and hopefully still have enough actions left over to play some number of jesters. So here I do copy a raise, which is very nice. I am going to draw it with the horse so that I can trash at least one copper here. That was a very helpful jester, I would say, at that point. And I do have enough for a province and I have to take it. I don't see any way around that. My outpost turn is terrible. Ideally, I would have liked to pick up another province on my outpost turn there, but the deck is too fat, you know? Deck is too fat, too inconsistent, not enough minstrels, too many coppers, so that is the price you pay. Just able to pick up a ride and pass it back to my opponent. So they will have a full turn here, able to buy a province and able to put down the outpost as well, and loading me up with even more copper. Not happy about that, but what can you do? Copy our wayfarer across. So now if they had any problems with draw, I don't think they had problems with draw to begin with, but definitely copying that wayfarer will completely solve that problem. Yeah. Draws the whole deck, puts down the outpost, and has 8 for a province. Ideal state there for Personman to be in. My turn is looking a bit shaky. I need this advisor to turn up a minstrel for me in order to continue with it here. But even if that happens, I need some luck to continue in this game because what will happen here is Personman will buy another province and then there will be 4 provinces left. If I get 2, they could probably get 2 on their turn. That'll give them an easy win. So, and they discard actually a couple minstrels here with their jesters. I do have to trash a silver to find back a minstrel. That's fine. Trashing silver is completely fine. And I am able to string together a full enough turn here, right? I'm able to see enough money plus my outpost to buy a province. I take another wayfarer here. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. It's just a copy silver there, not particularly helpful. Toil the outpost into play, pick up a province. Luckily here, I do see a decent outpost turn, but not quite good enough. I do get up to 8 if I want it here. It would mean triggering a reshuffle. So I try to put some good things in the shuffle before triggering it. I probably shouldn't trigger it anyway. Maybe. I take a Jester off Personman. Now that isn't particularly helpful in the end game. I turn over a Minstrel as well. Again, too late for that. And I do trigger the shuffle. I figure, well, maybe I can toil the Wayfarer and draw through the shuffle and still buy a province. I am actually 1 coin short of that. I didn't have to trash the copper. Maybe I should not have trashed the copper so that I was able to toil, put the Wayfarer in play, draw through the shuffle, and then buy the province. Maybe that is better than what I ended up doing here. I went for a toil to clear the shuffle, but instead of province, I pick up a farmland, turning a silver into a duchy. It doesn't win you the game, right? It doesn't win the game to do that, but I don't think buying the province is any better. I mean, probably the province is still better than what I did there, because if Personman bricks, there's no way I can get 3 provinces to finish the game. I have to take the province there and hope they brick and hope to get 2 provinces on the next turn. But I resigned there after seeing my hand and that they didn't brick. And we take a loss in game 1. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.